All right, let's talk about something more fun. The last few videos I made were a bit heavy. So we'll talk about non-duality. As I've mentioned in previous videos, the shift into non-dual experience or non-dual realization can happen gradually, it can happen in phases, or it can happen all at once. It can happen before equanimity is clarified, and it can happen afterwards. But the realization of the non-dual nature of phenomenon is unmistakable, unequivocal. That is, there is no separation between the sense of there being a subject and their sense of there being objects out there. So without the separation, without the boundary lines, subjectivity and objectivity sort of lose meaning. We still can recognize objects in a traditional way, like a computer or a dog or a cat or a body or my body or your body. We do this for practical purposes, mostly for communication. But in direct experience, there's no boundaries, and ultimately there are no objects of any kind, whether it's a subjective object or an objective object. There isn't form. Really, it's an experience of formlessness, and yet there's still experience. It's fluidity. It's boundless, vivid sense phenomenon that are intimate, spontaneous, self-responsive. It's as if the whole environment functions as one self-responsive experiencing. One lens through which we experience these shifts is from the lens of the doer, or the sense of there being a personal will. So at first we notice the falling away of the sense of having to be in control of our environment in a gross way, like manipulating situations, people, etc. The feeling that we have to have things go our way can calm down or even fall away. Then we take up an investigation of a subtler sense of control over our internal experience, or subtle control of the external experience. Choices, reactions to external experiences, reactions to internal experiences such as thoughts. This still is often infused with a sense of will, or a sense of choice as a separate choice maker. If we look closely at this, we start to recognize that it's the subjectification that's causing this, the sense of pulling back into a subject, into a me that's separate from the dynamic experience of the environment. But if we look closely and we inquire, we'll see there's no subject there. There's no where we retreat into. There's no where we pull back into. There's only the vivid experiences in the senses and thoughts, consciousness, which are also vivid experiences. There's no watcher of thoughts. There's just thoughts. There's no hearer of sounds. There's just sounds. There's no feeler of sensations. There's just sensations. And so when we realize this, not intellectually, but experientially, when a sound is just sounding, not anywhere specific, the spatial nature of that sound is not a concern, because we're out of the business of where. We're out of the business of is that over there or over here. Again, for practical matters, we can talk that way, but the experience of it is not like that at all. There's no need to put something in space. There's no need to say something is far or near, because far and near are experienced exactly the same way. You could call this non-distance. But the key is there's no subject apart from this experience. So because there's no subject, really there's no object. And this can be even a subtler recognition that not only is there no subject, there's no actual place apart from the vivid experiences, but there's no activity of subjectifying. The fundamental ability to pull back from experience as a noticer or an experiencer or a perceiver is itself only really a thought. And when that's clear, then thought consciousness just becomes even more obviously only what there is right now, right here. And sound becomes even more obviously only what there is right now, right here. And sensation is the only thing that is right here, right now. There's nothing between those experiences. There's not something pulling back into subjectivity, noticing it happen. There's just the vividness of experience. It's almost as if whole entire realities come forth as a sound and then a sensation. There's not something moving between those at all. There's not even a noticing moving between those. So it's as if reality disappears completely and comes back as one sound, one footstep, one taste, one movement of the jaw, one feeling in the gut. And with it, everything comes into being. And then again, and again. But language fails here because there is no watcher of this happening. There's no perceiver of it happening. There's only apparent happening. And it's not in time or space, and thus it's exquisitely intimate, clear, singular, obvious, simple, innocent, and without any abiding essence.